Herb. Herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Herb.
Hello, you made it to the Eugene Cannabis TV. You made the trip. We got some information for you regarding cannabis issues, local and national. And some things will make you mad, some things will make you laugh, and some will be both. But the first thing I wanted to tell you about comes from our friend Russ Belleville, which I've quoted before. He's with the National Normal Organization. He says Indiana drug lab botched 10% of the tests, 25% of those deliberately. This is out of Indianapolis, Indiana. An Indiana state lab wrongly reported 1 in 10 marijuana cases as positive, including some that were deliberately manipulated, and audit report indicated. The audit's findings showed errors in about 200 to 2,000 marijuana tests reported to law enforcement as having positive results, the Star said. This includes about 50 results the report said were consciously manipulated by lab workers. The audit, conducted by outside scientists, was originally going to cover every case with a positive lab result from 2007 to 2009, more than 10,000 overall. But the final findings were so troubling, officials will probably extend the audit back to 2006. Every positive marijuana case falsely reported is someone who was wrongly suspected, wrongly convicted, or wrongly charged with a probation or parole violation. No drug detection technology is perfect, but a 10% failure rate and 2.5% manipulation rate is an unacceptable measure for revoking someone's liberty. How many swore to loved ones they had stopped using cannabis only to have their trust shattered with a 1 in 10 mistake from the drug lab? Prohibitionists will read this story and say the problem is solved by improving the technology and verifying the procedures, never pausing to consider whether it's right to necessary to inspect people's bodies for evidence of cannabis use. I've always said the only people that gain from drug tests are the people that manufacture and sell drug tests. They're the only ones that are coming out ahead on that deal. A drug test translates into guilty until proven innocent, and I call that un-American. It's finally quite shocking to me that we've gotten to this state where drug testing is so readily accepted. This is another one that'll, again, there's no sayings that if you're not mad, you're not listening. This came up to me personally. This is I sent this out on a activist list, email list that I'm on. A gentleman has contacted me regarding an encounter with law enforcement. He was stopped, and they searched his vehicle because they said his tongue was green. They're claiming that they can tell when a person has smoked cannabis recently because their tongue is green. I certainly haven't heard of this. Has anyone else? And here's some of the responses that came back on this list. Paul Stanford with the THC Foundation that I've quoted quite a bit here. He said, in 2005, 2 of my employees were stopped in Cowlitz County, Washington, and told their tongues were green, and that was proof that they were under the influence of marijuana. I heard from a couple other sources that Washington State Patrol officers are trained that green tongues indicate recent cannabis use. I have never seen a study concerning this. And another gentleman named Pete wrote, I heard that if your pants are on fire, you may be lying, but I can't wrap my head around how anyone could arrive at that conclusion. Maybe it was the topic of one of the studies that only law enforcement insists hasn't been done. Another comment was, sounds like a determination being made by a drug recognition expert. Request a P-test. DREs are trained by law enforcement. A DRE is, it says here, drug recognition expert. I recommend everybody to go on the internet, type in Oregon and the letters DRE and read up on it. It's a drug recognition expert. An officer goes, I think there's 250 of them in the state. They go through a 40-hour course, and they graduate. They become drug recognition experts, and they can tell with probable cause just by looking at you that you may be under the influence, and request that you take a drug test. And Michael Bryan, the lawyer, has been on our show talking about that. And this was written in by, again, Russ Belleville wrote this, and he says, Michael's rule, he's speaking of Michael, Brian Michaels again. Michael's rule, always P, never DRE. Steinborn's law. Steinborn is the leading criminal defense lawyer in marijuana cases out of Seattle. Steinborn's law is only break one law at a time. John Lucy, criminal lawyer out of Portland, his observation is, when it comes to drug law, facts and science are irrelevant. I'm sure there are more. So, if you ever hear about the green tongue, the cops tell you that you have a green tongue and they try to use that for a probable cause, just smile and say, this is going to be an interesting case. I do not give you permission to search my car, and just go from there. But anyway, that's our law enforcement agency trying to keep us all safe, keep us safe from all these green tongue fanatics out there running around. So if you're ticked off, then it's time to join up and fight back. And that's just what I got next here. This is real exciting. The ASA Activist Boot Camp is coming to Eugene, right here in Eugene. It's going to be on the 19th. And the call to action is the nation's first medical cannabis virtual skill building conference. Repledge your commitment to safe and legal access by joining thousands of your fellow activists for 2 days of community building, skill sharing, and strategic planning. For nearly a decade, ASA has been hosting trainings and workshops to build capacity among our base and mobilize our activists. When we began this work, ASA focused on the battles in California. Today, our scope is national, and we get pleas from almost every state asking us to help them activate their base and build a strategy to ensure safe access. ASA's success over the years has been a combination of strategic efforts from a knowledgeable source and an ability to empower and mobilize a grassroots base for medical cannabis issues. We have always known the path to victory will be patient-led movement, and through years of outreach, education, and training, ASA has laid the foundation for that path. So the details on the workshop here is it's $75 for the weekend and $50 if you're a current ASA member. Now, I understand that they have scholarships available, so don't ever let money be a factor to stop you from this, because if you want to participate, they'll figure out a way, because we definitely need help and we need education. So this is quite an opportunity. It's saying, why should I participate? It said, there is no easier or more effective way to learn the skills you need specifically to become a leading advocate for medical marijuana or medical cannabis policy. ASA has the knowledge, resources, and history for protecting patients' rights in safe medical cannabis access. At ASA, we realize that patients must lead this cause from the grassroots up. These virtual conferences will give you the tools you need to make meaningful change within our own community. Excuse me. So if you go to Safe Access, safeaccess.org, you can get the information on that, sign up for it, and learn more about it. It's going on in here in Eugene. Well, in fact, it's Los Angeles, Marion County, Oakland, Riverside, anyway, a bunch of them in California. In Oregon, it's going to be in Eugene, Medford, and Portland. So coming to a town near you. So it's something you definitely want to participate in and give your support to. Also, we got the Emerald Empire Hempfest that we're working on already. We're working on the park process. Just turned in a couple more pieces of paperwork on that. and it's going well. It looks like we're going to be in Maury Jacobs Park this year, just like we were last year. We tried to get it in Alton Baker, but we weren't able to do it. There was another group that wanted the park too. So according to the park policy, we had to go into a lottery, the two of us, and guess what? We lost again. So the park policy, they are so happy because they feel it's so fair, but I don't know if it's fair or not, but all I know is we haven't been able to get back into Alton Baker Park since 2003 for one reason or another, so it's very frustrating. But Maury Jacobs did well for us last year, so we should have an excellent event. Excuse me, we're having some good participation. We've got bands already contacting us, as we do every year, wanting to come and participate. We're going to have a lot of speakers, but we certainly need a lot of help. This is a free event. It's in the city park and free to the public. And it'll be the third weekend in July, which is the weekend after the Oregon Country Fair. That's the 15th, the 16th, and the 17th of July, and put it on your calendars. And stay tuned, because we're going to be having volunteer meetings here fairly in the near future. Perhaps some fundraising events, so there's a lot of fun to be had as well as work to be done, but they can both be done together and remain quite enjoyable, and you meet some of the best people too. So that's all we've got for this evening, and we're going to wrap it up, and I appreciate you dropping in on us, and if you want to hear the news, and the news that you won't hear anybody else, tune in to the Eugene Cannabis TV. I'm DanK, and I'll tell you like it is. Thanks a lot. We're out of here.
Are you tired of following all the rules? Ready to let loose? Have a little fun? Sounds like you need to. Get high. And with Narcomex Incorporated, your direct-to-consumer drug trafficking solution, you can. Narcomex values your business. That's why we're your #1 supplier of drugs, and you're our #1 consumer. These billions can't be wrong. We work hard for your business and have killed not 1, not 2, but 3 Mexican police and 2 journalists just to keep you high with that very joint. Why, our commitment to keeping you supplied has killed over 17,000 people right next door. Traffickers, soldiers, journalists, prosecutors, you name it. We're that passionate about your business. We've even begun to destroy some of your favorite tropical beach destinations, because if you smoke enough at home, you don't even need a beach. But don't legalize it or grow it at home. Let us do the work for you. Sure, consumers boycotted evil companies, but there's no need to boycott Narcomex Incorporated, your direct-to-consumer drug trafficking solution, also offering heroin, meth, and cocaine. Narcomex Incorporated. Live a little, and forget others won't.
This is LK backstage at Hempstalk 2010. I'm here with Mr. Platshorn from New York.
Robert Platshorn from Miami, Florida. I'm the guy who served more time in prison for marijuana than anyone in America, 30 years. If you're a High Times reader, the 35th anniversary edition had a long feature story about me. And I was the guy who used to bring in that really good Santa Marta Gold from Colombia, and that sort of started the good pot revolution back in the day. And today I write stories for High Times and travel around working as an activist. I've been working a petition in South Florida for medical marijuana, and it's always a joy to come out to the West Coast where you've made so much progress. And as long as Prop 19 passes, the world is ours. If it doesn't pass, we're in a world of hurt, because it's going to set us back a whole generation.
I'm so sorry that I didn't recognize you. I should have, because you're a true martyr, and I'm so sorry for what the government did to you. What do you think of the Hempstalk here?
This is an absolutely gorgeous location. It's, you know, look at it from my perspective. I've been in prison for 30 years. To be able to get out and come to some place like Hempstalk, it's just almost a miracle. And I just had a great time. I enjoyed speaking here. The people have been super. The surroundings are just gorgeous. I mean, this is just the most beautiful locale. I've been to maybe 6 or 7 Hempfest, Hempstalks, Hemp Cups, Cannabis Crown, Cannabis Cup, and I've spoken at all of them and done book signings. My book is called The Black Tuna Diaries, and it's my autobiography from when I was a bullfighter in Spain and set up 14 schools in England, Holland, and Germany for speed reading. And back in my old pitchman days, I used to work with guys like Billy Mays, and I was the guy on TV who sold the Ginsu knives and the Popeil Dilomatics. And then to come here, to me, is just heaven. I hate to go back to Florida where things are very, very tough.
I always ask this one question. If you could say anything to the marijuana community, what would it be?
We spend too much time talking to each other. We're selling to the convinced. There's an element of our society that is the most powerful voting bloc, and that's the seniors. They're my generation. They're Woodstock. They're smokers. But they've been underground so long, they generally don't work for activism. In South Florida, where I live, they have no conception of what's being done with medical marijuana. And that's the petition we're trying to pass. When I get home, I'm starting a silver tour. I will go to the clubhouses at these hundreds of senior communities. I've got a great PowerPoint show, I've got videos, and I'm taking a doctor or a nurse to each one to answer legitimate medical questions. These people all vote, they all have their congressman's phone number, and they're not afraid to call. And it should go viral, because if they live in Golden Gates, they go to Golden Age to play cards, and they go over there to Senior Village to play bingo, and they need something to talk about. And if you talk to them about marijuana and Alzheimer's, marijuana and cancer, marijuana and MS, they have no clue. But they're going to have this silver tour, and that's my project for the next year or two.
Again, would you honor me and let everybody know your name and the book, and maybe how they could get the book?
Robert Platshorn, also known as Bobby Tuna, for 30 years in prison. Hey, Tuna, how are you, man? Hey, Tuna, I became the Tuna. You know, I never knew I belonged to the Black Tuna Gang till I read it in the papers, because I didn't know there was a Black Tuna Gang. My book is called Black Tuna Diaries. It's an autobiography. I was a writer long before I was a smuggler, and the book's gotten fabulous reviews. You'll enjoy reading it. There are only 2 ways to get it, and they were only printed in a limited edition. You can get it through Amazon, or you can go to my site, which is blacktunadiaries, one word, .com. blacktunadiaries.com. And if you put in the word Hempstalk in the instruction box when you place your order, where it says special instructions, mention Hempstalk and say, give me the free chapter, and I'll include a chapter that's not in the book. It's going to be in the next book, but it's not in this book, and I'll put it in an envelope and stick it in your book. The hardcover is $29.95. It's a limited edition. It's a great big thick book, and you'll have a lot of pleasure reading it. There's a soft cover, the student's edition, $19.95. Thank you.
Thank you. And people, please let him know that the government was wrong, and purchase his book to let him know that, and hopefully he can complete this tour that he's on and be real successful at it. Again, this is LK backstage at Hempstalk 2000. This is LK backstage at Hempstalk 2010 with Danny Danko of High Times. So what do you think of the event, bro?
You know, this is my first ever Hempstalk here in Portland, Oregon, and I'm just amazed. This is a wonderful event, a wonderful vibe. You know, it doesn't feel like a money grab. It doesn't feel like it doesn't have a soul or anything. This is an event with a real heartbeat, and you know, it's the pulse of Oregon. It just really feels like a family environment. You know, you could bring in kids here and not have to worry about them and the food is wonderful, the vibe is incredible, the music, the speakers, and everything. I've really had a great time. And the people in Oregon here welcome you so wonderfully, and it's the only place where they give away more pot than they ever, sell, or it's amazing. I've never seen anything like it.
Well, with that new note, what did you think of that Portland Pinner last night?
The Portland Pinner, was that the 200-gram joint or whatever it was?
It just has to be at least 2.5 ounces to qualify as a Portland Pinner.
Right. So anything bigger than 2.5 ounces in the joint, and it's a Portland Pinner. All right. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. We had quite a wonderful party for NORML, a fundraiser last night, and the National NORML Conference is here as well in conjunction with Hempstalk, and it's just been incredible. Just a really uplifting experience, like a real sativa high.
I always give everybody the opportunity to plug their thing. So is there anything that you want the public to know about High Times?
Absolutely. Well, as far as High Times goes, we're doing great. We've got our December issue coming out with my top 10 strains of the year. January is our 420th issue, which is huge for us. Yeah, amazing 420th issue, and there's a lot of cool information in there. A lot of different people coming out to congratulate us on reaching 420 issues, which I think is great. And we've launched a medical magazine called High Times Medical Marijuana News and Reviews. That's a quarterly now and doing really good. And myself personally, just about to release the official High Times Field Guide to Marijuana Strains. The first of its kind as far as a field guide. I've got over 135 strains in here, lovingly described. We've got their medicinal properties, we've got the flowering times, the flavors, the odors, and also even contact information on where to get the seeds. So you can actually grow almost every strain that's in this book. You can acquire pretty much anywhere in the world and grow it out yourself, which I'm really proud of, and I think it's going to be a great book, and we can keep adding to it year after year. By no means is every strain in here. There's thousands out there. We're just going to keep adding to it. And we've got the Cannabis Cup coming up in November, which is going to be pretty incredible. It's the 23rd annual Cannabis Cup, so we're excited about that too.
Excellent, excellent. Anybody that thinks that marijuana smokers are just a bunch of stoners and don't do anything have never met this man. So I always ask everybody this one question. If you could say anything to the marijuana community, what would it be?
Anything, wow.
Anything.
Get active, participate. In any way that you can. You have some skill you can bring to this movement one way or the other. You don't have to have money. You don't even have to have, a high school education. It really doesn't matter. Bring whatever skills you have to the table and put them forward to move this movement forward, because it's the only way we're going to get anywhere. And even growing, even cultivation, that's part of it. It's a political act. It's just as good as standing on the stage and speaking from the stage. Just do it from the heart. Don't do it with the motivation of greed and money. Do it with the motivation of creating better medicine, better cannabis, and stick to variety. Don't get bogged down in one strain. Explore and enhance your life with the beauty of all of the different experiences that you can get from cannabis.
Cool. Again, this is LK. Backstage at Hempstalk 2010 with Danny Danko of High Time.
Oregon Grow Room, flowering week 6. The ladies are doing excellent, but I ran out of room, so one lady kind of got elevated. Still gets plenty of light, I'm not worried. I only have 3 weeks left, but they're going to be amazing. In a couple of weeks I'm already astonished. So I'm a rather new grower, and this is the first harvest that I used all the nutrients. I used Fox Farm. I know it's not the best, a lot of people say, but it's good for a new grower. It was easy to follow. So I definitely see a major difference in using the nutrients opposed to water. The first grow that I did, I used just water, and the nutrients really make it a lot more visually stimulating to watch grow, and it's doing its job. So there you go. And like always make sure that you're within your legal limits. And make sure that you always have your patient information located in the grow room. Doesn't count if it's in a folder on your desk. Got to make sure that you stick with all the laws in Oregon and never go under your numbers, and and make sure that you have ample security. The room that the medicine's being grown in has to have a lock, cannot be accessible to anybody, and that's a very important thing. You want to be safe when you're growing. So hope you've enjoyed this transformation from the 5th week of vegging to the 6th week of flowering. So only 3 weeks left. So see you next time.